Baruchim Abayim, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Congregation Beit Eliyahu, where tonight the Chazaq organization is honored and privileged to host a very dear friend of ours, Rabbi Refael Ribacoff, on the topic of healthy relationships, how to, correct me if I'm wrong, how do you know if you are married or dating your soulmate? The right one. Okay, just say it. So many events going on, so I forget topics. But you got the point. Looking forward for this year. Should be very interesting. Thank you very much for coming. Baruch Hashem, Chazaq, Baruch to every single one of us. First and foremost, today is the event, especially the refreshments, were dedicated for the Refuah Shlema, the complete recovery for Asher ben Fercha. Hashem should give him a Refuah Shlema Me'era. Amen. Upcoming events and programs, some quick announcements are that this Sunday night, Chazaq will be having two special events. First event is Rabbi Y.Y. Wengland, former Harvard graduate who became a football player, who became a Hasidic rabbi. Should be a very interesting lecture. The topic will be how to stay high after the high holy days. So please come and spread the word to all. That will be at the Bet Gabriel Center in Forest Hills. You'll see the flyers and the emails and the text messages about that event. Also on Sunday night, Chazaq presents Tzaddik Bala'ir, a very big rabbi, Rabbi Yechiel Buchatzera, who is related to the Baba Sali, and all the Buchatzera families will be giving a lecture in Hebrew at Yeshiva Ohel Simcha at 9 p.m., followed by Kabbalat Kahal, where you could go get brachas and advice from the rabbi. That will be this Sunday night, both events. One in Bet Gabriel, Rabbi Y.Y. Wengland, Rabbi Yechiel Buchatzera at Yeshiva Ohel Simcha in Kiran Hills. There's many other events I could go on and on about it, but you will be getting emails and be notified about them. If you aren't on our email list, we will be giving out a sign-in sheet in the middle of the lecture. Please fill in your information. If you want to get text messages, you can fill in your phone number with a check next to the text message sign. Regarding the Chazaq magazine, the brand new one just came out, issue number 49. You can pick up the winter edition. There's a few scattered around after the lecture. You'll be able to go in by the entrance. And also my good friend AK Studios in the crowd sponsored a few hundred of these Ashiyatzer posters, which are in Hebrew and Russian. So feel free to take them. Whoever is interested in helping with sponsorships, please go see Avram. Raise your hand. Okay, good. Without further ado, it's our first time hosting Rabbi Ribacoff. I actually went to his Chattan and Kallah classes. It was so inspiring that I didn't need to hear him for another 4 years about. So that's why it took us this long to get him to speak for us. But we had his Rebbitzin many times. So it's an honor for us to have him come all the way from Farakris, or Five Towns area. So Rabbi Ribacoff, thank you very much for joining us. Without further ado, Rabbi Refael Ribacoff.
Okay, good evening everyone. Thank you much for coming. Open up with Kvod Achsanya, with the Congregation Beit Eliyahu. It's a beautiful shul, and Baruch Hashem, it should be a place of davening, of learning, and a place where, of course, we're here for a little bit of Shalom Bayit as well. And of course to Chazaq and Yaniv for inviting me to come. It's a mamash, a privilege and an honor, and it only took 4 years. We have to work a little bit harder. Maybe next time, for the next couple, they shouldn't come for another 10 years. So that's the most important thing. There were some handouts that were given out in the beginning. I hope everyone got one. I don't know if I made enough for everyone. If not, you can share. So the topic of tonight is healthy relationships. How do you know if you are dating or married to your true partner in life? I was told it's supposed to be a little bit of a mixed crowd, some singles, some married people, so we'll try to interwove some of the ideas that apply not just to dating, but to marriage as well. So the first quote that's over there, we'll say the story is, there was a professor in college, an English professor, and he wanted to, I guess, make a little fun and have some jokes with the students. And he came up with this little question for them in terms of to see how well they understand the English language. So a quote, if you see on the sheet, some say there is no difference between complete and finished. Please explain the difference between complete and finished in a way that is easy to understand. Sounds simple enough, right? Everyone's thinking. One guy in the back raises his hands and he says, and I'll quote because this is classic. His answer was, when you marry the right woman, you are complete. But when you marry the wrong woman, you are finished. But if the right one catches you with the wrong one, then you are completely finished. You got a good laugh, so Baruch Hashem. So our job here tonight is to try to find that right one and to be complete and whole. That's the idea. So everyone asks the question, especially when you're single, how do you know if you're dating or want to get married to the right one? How do you know that you found your, as they say, the bashert, your other half, the one that's going to make you complete and whole? And even couples ask the question after they're married. Did I make the right decision? Was this the right person for me? So I want to start off by saying that I'm not here to talk about, how do you find out if you did marry the right one? In terms of some people will go to a Kabbalist and try to figure out, does he have any EBGB, some vibes and some information that we don't know that this person is the right one for you. I'm not talking about opening up the Segula books and do some gematrias with your name, your mother's name, his name, mother's name, and try to find out if it matches up, is equal, it doesn't equal, is it good or no good. I'm not talking about if you have this feeling, you have this spark that says that this is the right one for you. Because as we see, there are times when you go out with somebody and you might have that spark, but it just fizzles out, it doesn't work out. And some people get married, never have that spark, and they're Baruch Hashem, they're happily married. And some people do have that spark. So it's not necessarily an indication that if you do have it or don't have it, it works for some, doesn't work for others. I mean, personally, when I went out with my wife, I told myself, if I'm going to call her, I'm going to get married to her. So, I don't know, but Baruch Hashem, it worked out. Doesn't work the same for everybody, but you never know. And I think sometimes men have a little bit of an inclination in terms of knowing whether this is the right one or not. I don't know why or how, but the men do, and they're the ones who usually say, will you marry me, propose right away. And the women, what do? They never give an answer right away. Oh, I don't know, I need to think about it. You know why they say that? Because they don't want the dating to end. They want to take me out, wine and dine me, have a good, because once you say yes, that's it all stops. Yeah, she wants to get married, finished. I'm not even talking about bashert, about the right one. Whoever does the Daf Yomi, yesterday we started Masechet Sota, and over there it brings down the famous saying about, Hashem is Bezavik Zivukim, and 40 days before Yetzirat Havlad, before the creation of the fetus, a bat kol comes out, a heavenly voice comes out and says, Bat Ploni, the daughter of so-and-so is getting married to so-and-so. The Gemara continues on, there's another thing that says that it's according to your ma'asim, according to your deeds, according to the level that you're holding on, that's who the person you're going to get married to. And sometimes even the tefillah, your davening, can affect somebody's shidduch. Of course, yes, we are soulmates. You're all each half of an neshama, and again, we're here to try to complete ourselves to become one in whole. So what we're going to try to cover tonight is just some practical tips and ideas in terms of trying to figure out, are you in a healthy relationship with this other person, or whether it's your spouse, or whether it's this person that you're dating as well. So we'll look at number one on the list. Are looks alone important in a relationship while dating or even after marriage? Are looks important? I'll open it to the audience. I'll make it a little more interactive if you want. What do you say? Yes. The ladies say yes. What about the men? Yes?
Looks
are very important. Why are looks important? Will you base marrying a person based on the looks alone? Think about it.
You can't.
You can't. Why not?
Because it's more than just looks. Looks normally fade, and and you got to get to know the person for who they are, the character of the person, the personality, their amigos. That's the whole package.
Okay.
The whole package. So,
Ladies, looks. Yes. Looks change. Okay. Okay. Inside. Okay. Okay. It's interesting to note. I was doing a little search in the Torah in terms of looks. Okay? Last week's Parsha Lech Lecha, we read about Sarah Imenu, right? Sarah, our mother, our matriarch. And what does it say in the pasuk? When they came out to Mitzrayim, Abraham said, "Hinena yadati ki isha yefat mareat." Abraham just realized that Sarah is very beautiful. Rivka, next week's parsha. It says about her, "V'hanara tovat mareh meod." She was very beautiful, good looking. You have Rachel and Leah. Ve'en Leah rakot. The eyes of Leah were weak. V'Rachel hayta yefat tor v'ifat mareh. And she was very, very beautiful as well. The Gemara brings down, there are 4 women. Arba nashim yefefiyot hayu ba'olam. There were 4 gorgeous, gorgeous women in the world. One of them was Sarah. Number 2 was Rachav. Number 3 was Abigail. And number 4 was Esther Amalka. And the Gemara continues on over there. There were certain women that Yael, if you just heard a voice, you get excited. And Michal bat Shaul, also, if you just saw her as well, she was very beautiful too, that would get a man excited. Tosfos asked the question, what about Chava? The Gemara says that Sarah lifnei Chava kekof bifnei Adam. Sarah compared to Chava was like a monkey before a person. So Chava must be very beautiful. She was created by the hands of God, right? But he answers that, well, because she was created by God and not born by an individual, so therefore she's held to a higher standard. In Tanakh, Bat-Sheva, it says about her, V'ha'isha tovat mareh meod. She was very beautiful as well. Tamar bat David, Yafeh. Tamar bat Avshalom, Isha yafat mareh. Avishag Ashunamit, V'hanara yafa ad meod. She was very beautiful. And Benot Iyov, in the Nach, it says, V'lo nimtza nashim yafos kebenos Iyov b'chol haaretz. The daughters of Iyov were the most gorgeous girls at the time in that land. So, are looks important or not? Seems to be stressed a certain important respect in terms of these women. The Gemara brings down, Gemara Tanit at the end, and everyone's aware of this, no greater days for Bnei Israel than Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur. Why? Because it says the girls of Yerushalayim would go out and dance in the vineyards, right? In terms of finding shidduchim. And there were 3 groups that were there. He had one group was the beautiful girls. And they tell the guys, Ten enecha bayofi, she'en ha'isha ela liyofi. Right? We're good looking, we're gorgeous, okay? Get married to us. Why? Because you need to have a good looking wife. Second group were the girls that had yichus, that had come from a good family. Right? They said, what? A woman is to have children, we come from a good mishpacha, from a good family, and therefore you want your kids to grow up in the right environment. So don't just look at the beauty, because what does the pasuk say? Sheker achen v'hevel hayofi isha yirat Hashem hiti talal. Right? The beauty is vain, and the yofi is like nothingness. It's a woman who's God-fearing is the one who should be praised. And then he had group number 3. They weren't so good looking, they didn't have great yichus, and they said, marry us l'shem shamayim, just for the children. Why? But make sure that you try to adorn us with jewelry in order for us to look beautiful in your eyes. So we see at least 2 out of the 3, beauty seems to be an important aspect when it comes to choosing a shidduch, finding a mate, in terms of finding the right girl for you. There's even a story in Masechet Nedarim. There was a person who took a vow, he took a neder, not to get married to his sister's daughter. So Rabbi Yishmael found out about it. He took this girl, and he says that he made her beautiful. He gave her good clothes to wear, he adorned her with jewelry, and she looked pretty. And then he goes over to this guy, is this the girl that you were talking about when you said you don't want to get married to your sister's daughter? He says, Didn't look at all what she looked like before. She looked much better, much prettier. And he said, no, I wouldn't mind getting married to this one. And at the end, he canceled the vow. And after that, Rabbi Shmuel, he started to cry. And he says, in general, the women are very beautiful. They really are gorgeous. But sometimes the poverty can make them look a little bit ugly and therefore take away the beauty that they have. To go further, in Masechet Brachot it says, there are 3 things, Shlosha marchivin dato shel adam. There are 3 things that give a man expanse, make him feel good. And what are they? It says, Dira na'eh, if he has a nice house, a nice apartment. V'isha na'eh, if he has a nice wife. V'kelim na'im, and if he has good and proper utensils to use. Okay, without getting into the deep interpretation, but Pashup Pshat, simple explanation, the interpretation is what? If you have a good wife. Isha na'eh. So again, the question is, how do we understand the looks that the Torah is emphasizing and the Gemara is mentioning as well? And when it comes to the famous passage that we mentioned before, Sheker achen v'hevel hayofi. So are looks important, or are they not? How do we understand it? How do we reconcile the two ideas? And we asked to the women, that's for the mem side. For the women's side, the woman said the looks are important. The Gemara says something interesting, Masechet Kiddushin. It says, Tav lemeitav tandu melemitav armelu. It says that a woman would rather be married to somebody, to anybody, doesn't matter what he looks like. It's better to be married at least to somebody than it is to be married to, or not married at all. So it seems like the women shouldn't care about the looks. But in reality, I think the women today seem to be saying that they do care about the looks. It is important for the guys, for the women as well. So we'll try to answer it this way. In Pirkei Avot, we're all familiar with the saying, Kol ahava shi tluya badavar, batel davar, batel ahava. When a love is dependent on something, once that something is gone, the love is gone. So when I teach the guys, I tell them, if you tell me that you love your fiancé, you love your girlfriend, you love your wife because she's very beautiful, what's going to happen when one day she's not so beautiful anymore? Right now we're all young, the prime of our lives, we're healthy, we're strong, but over time what happens? You can't run away from it. You're going to get gray hair, you're going to get wrinkles, you're going to get a big fat belly. And a woman's body after a baby is not the same body anymore. If you love her just for the looks, what are you going to do when the looks are going to eventually fade? One day you and your wife are going to become Bobby and Zaidi. You're going to become grandma and grandpa. And what do they look like? They should be healthy and well until 120, but it's time. It takes its toll. What can you do? So of course, as some of you mentioned before, it's not just the physical beauty that's important. If you want to understand on a deeper level, even when the Torah mentions all these women who are very beautiful, we have to say that it's not just the physical beauty of the person. It's the midot that somebody mentioned before. It's the tzniut, the modesty that they have. It's the chesed that they do, the good deeds. It's not on the physical level, although it might be there as well, but really you should look to the inside of the person. That's the true beauty that shines. The one who has God, the woman who's God-fearing, she's the one who should be praised. It's the Yiras Hashem. It's the fear of God. Because if you look at a deeper level, as we know, the panim, the face, is a reflection of the pnim, of the inside. So if a person is beautiful on the inside in terms of their midot, the good character traits, how they interact with other people, that beauty will be reflected on the face itself. And the beauty of their face will shine in terms of, that's the true beauty. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Because Sarah wasn't a young girl at the time. She was already older when she went down to Mitzrayim. And Abraham said, all of a sudden I realized that she would be very beautiful. Because that's the inside that's being reflected on the face on the outside. That's the beauty that we have to try to love and to appreciate and to really enjoy. But even when I was dating, I remember my rabbi said, he says, even though sheker achem v'hevel hayofi, you still need a little bit of it. It's still important to have a little bit of yofi in the chen. Because it's the chen that attracts a person to another person. And even after you're married, a piece of advice. It's very important that, when we're dating, we spend time to get ready, we get dressed in our nice clothing, we put on some cologne, some deodorant, we even take a shower instead of taking it once a week, and the girls, they spend time with the makeup, getting ready, right? And we spend the time and effort to look good, right? So why is it that once we get married, we stop doing that? We don't care about ourselves. We let our bodies go to pot, we get a big fat belly, right? We don't care about how we look, who cares, I'm already married. No. That even though you're married, the looks are still important. And of course, the inside is very important, but even the physical looks have to be taken care of in terms of taking care of yourself. It's important for the men to exercise and the women as well. We have to eat healthy. Right? We're talking about healthy relationships. We have to eat healthy, and we have to drink a lot of water. Right? The woman, you have to take care of yourself. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to get your nails done, get your eyebrows done, and make sure the clothes look nice. And for the men as well, I'll leave it up to you guys. You need to rejuvenate. You need to look young. You need to feel young, because when you do, again, when you dress young, you feel young. It affects you as well. Even though you might be older, but you're still young at heart, and it's good for you too.
SMS from 32665.
Whenever you're ready. Also, it's not just enough to look good when you're going out. And I hate to say this, men are men, and we say every time in the Kriyat Shema, "V'lo taturu achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem." We have to be careful not to wander and go after our eyes. So therefore, it's important that we have to understand it, that there's a lot of Yetzer Haras that are out there. We don't want to give a reason for our men to look elsewhere, God forbid, and to make sure that we do look nice for them, we dress up nice for them, and we understand it that even though I'm older, I remember years ago, a rabbi once said there was this lady, she was 80 years old, married to her husband who was 85 years old. And she comes down the stairs wearing a new dress, and she asks her husband, "How does the dress look? Do I look nice and pretty in the dress?" And what do you learn from the story? That even though she's 80 years old, she still wants to hear a good word from her husband, that she looks beautiful in his eyes no matter what. So it's important that we take care of ourselves and to understand that, it's very important, not just the looks, the physical looks that we had when we were dating, when we were younger, but even though once we're married, we still need to take care of ourselves, to understand that it's important that we do whatever it takes in terms of eating well, exercising, and dressing, and taking care of ourselves on the physical level too. So the bottom line is what? So looks are important. Not just the only thing. It's one piece of the puzzles that we need to take into consideration. It's not the only thing. To understand that the physical looks that we're talking about is not just the way the secular world looks at it in terms of being that physical body, okay, the way the looks and so on and so on, because as we know, it will fade. It's not going to last forever. And if that's the only thing that's attracting you to this other person, then what are you going to do when it does fizzle out? We need to have some of that chen, some of that charm from the inside in terms of appreciating the person as well. That's what God, Hashem, gives us in terms of connecting one with the other, in terms of, you see sometimes couples like, what does he see in her? Or what does she see in him? But there's that special chen that God, the charm that Hashem gives to the couple, that this is what they like, this is what's special for them. It's important to understand it, that if we do it really l'shem shamayim, if we really do it for Hashem's sake, for the right reasons. As we know, there's a famous story in the Torah of the women, how they used to get themselves all pretty when the men were working in Mitzrayim, right? The special copper mirrors. And when the woman came to donate them to the Mishkan, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want them. He said, because this is something that's used for vanity. I don't want this as part of the Mishkan, which is on a very high level. But Hashem says, no, I want these. I want them. And put it on, melt them down, and put them on as a coating onto the Mizbeach. And as we know also, when a couple gets a divorce, who cries? It says the Mizbeach cries. Why? Because something was missing there. Something was lacking. That beauty that was there, the wonderful marriage that was there between the people, and it broke off, it didn't work out, the Mizbeach cries. Because these mirrors are special, and that it's important for a woman to understand that you need to make yourself look beautiful for your husband. And it goes vice versa for the men that need to take care of themselves too. We get to the next topic. Number 2. Communication. Question number 1. Is it okay if while going out on a date that the guy or girl is not talkative? Okay? Going on a date and it's awkward. Don't know what to say. Right? And number 2, is it important to call your husband or wife every day? Okay, that's for those that are married. So to understand it, what does it mean to talk? Communication. I would say that the power of speech is one of the major differences that separates out man from the animals. Because man has the power of speech. And as we know, as we read a few weeks ago in Parashat Bereshit, when Hashem breathed into the nostrils of Adam, he became what's called a ruach memalalah. He was able, a talking spirit. But because we have a neshama, God gives us the power of speech. And therefore we know that we need to use it, and that's our way of connecting to another person. If your wife, if your husband is your other half, how do you connect with your neshama? if not through speech, if not through communication that you have in terms of that's what the neshama is all about. Being able to talk to the other person. That's how you connect to the heart of your spouse. Now, how do we understand this idea of speech? As we know as well, the Gemara tells us, Asara kabin sicha yardu la'olam. There was 10 parts, 10 measures of speech that came down to the world. Tisha natlu nashim. The women took, how many? 9. They took a lot. Not just majority, major majority. They took almost everything. Women like to talk. Usually. They do, that's right. Maybe they have a woman's neshama in them too, I don't know. But women like to talk in general. In general. When you see a couple outside, let's say either walking on the streets or in a restaurant, who's doing all the talking? It's usually the woman. You got 2 women together, yapping on the phone, right? They're just babbling away all day and all night. You call up your husband in 2 seconds, hi, bye, goodbye, that's the end of it. Nothing to say. Now, how do we understand Pirkei Avot that says, "Ve'al tarbeh sicha im ha'isha"? Right? Don't increase, don't have too much talk with a woman. Be'ishto amru kal v'chomer be'eshet chavero. It's talking about your own wife, and all the more so to somebody else's wife. So, how do we understand this idea of communication? If Pirkei Avot tells us, don't talk too much to your wife. So, what does that mean? So, there's a story that I heard. There was a guy, a simple guy, he learned this Pirkei Avot, and so the rabbis say, don't talk to your wife. He didn't talk to his wife. He comes home, Didn't want to talk. So he's gesturing with his eyes, with his hands, doesn't know what to do. After a while, the wife had enough. She goes complaining to her father. Dad, I don't know what happened. This guy, I don't know, I think he lost the power of speech. He can't talk. He's mumbling things. I don't know what he's doing. I can't take this anymore. I'm married to what? The father went to the Rav, Rabbi Shua Leib Diskin. Told him the whole story. The Rav says, don't worry, I'll take care of it myself personally. One afternoon, he calls over the guy, come to my office. Okay. Guy comes to the Rav's office, and the Rav is sitting in his office, and he's sitting and learning. Rav sees the guy walking in. He goes back to learning. Okay. The Rav is probably busy, wait till he's finishing. He's waiting there a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Rav doesn't notice nothing. This goes on for 2 hours. 2 hours. The guy just standing there. Rav is just learning away, oblivious. After a while, the Rav closes his book. Thinks he's going to talk to him now. Sha'arei calls over his wife. Come, I want to talk to you. Wife comes in. How was your day? What's going on? And the wife is talking to him. What'd you do? Did you go to the market today? Yes, I did. What'd you buy? What'd you get? What's for lunch? And they're talking. They have a nice conversation. And the Rav finishes with his wife. The wife leaves. The Rav goes back to his learning. And a little while later, he tells the guy, go. Okay. This guy, years later, said, I learned 2 things from the Rav. He says, number 1, I learned how it feels like when you're not spoken to. Right? And number 2, I see that the Rav, even though he sits and learns, he still devotes part of his time to speak to his wife. And not just talking to his wife about Torah, about mundane things. How was your day? What's going on? What's in the market? What did you do for lunch? Right? Simple things. Talk to her. That's the message we need to learn. It's very easy sometimes for guys especially. They're upset. They go into silent mode. Right? They press the mute button. They hear nothing. They say nothing. They're out of it. What's the matter? What's going on? Doesn't say nothing. Right? It's a problem. It's a problem. We need to communicate. I tell you, for the guys, the woman will tell you, it's the worst thing you can do to me. Talk to me. Yell at me. Scream at me. Do something. Don't just sit there like a rock and do nothing. Okay? Talk to me. So we need to talk. Maybe on a date, there might be some awkward moments. Okay, we might be shy. We might be nervous. Sometimes when you get to know the person, they relax, they loosen up a little bit, and they're able to talk and to express themselves and to discuss whenever it needs to be discussed. But it's important that you're able to open up and to speak to the other person, to be able to share your thoughts and share your feelings with each other. Because when it comes down to it, even though you might be married, you're not the Navi, and she's not a Naviya, and she cannot read your mind, and you cannot read her mind. I need to talk. I tell the guys, maybe in 50 years from now, you might get to that level of being able to read her mind. You can sit across a crowded room, and you telepathically talk to each other. You can do that. You can get to that level. It takes a lot of work, but you can reach there. But until then, what do you need to do? We need to learn to talk to the other person. So what's considered to be healthy talk? Let's go back to our sheets. We got 2 columns over there. One is called healthy talk. The other one's called abusive talk. So number 1 is encouraging talk. And what does that mean? You want to encourage the other person. You want to show them that you're proud of their accomplishments. You want them to do well in school. You want them to do well in work. You want to be supportive of them. You want to be helpful. If they need some help, listen to your ideas. Being able to compromise, that comes through communication as well. Next one, respectful. We talk nicely to each other. We say please, and we say thank you, right? We don't take it for granted. She has to cook dinner, and he has to clean up and do the shopping. It's not giving. There's no reason why the courtesies all of a sudden end once you're married, right? You need to say please and thank you. It doesn't cost anything. It's worth it. How do you discuss and how do you talk when it comes to dealing with family and friends? When you have guests over, especially the family, in terms of how do we talk to each other? How do we respect the parents and the in-laws and the extended family too? Next level is appropriate language, right? Of course, we're talking about no cursing. Everything's kept the right way. Is it honest talk? Is it truthful? Is it trusting? And when it comes to trust, I want to say one of the backbones of married life is having the trust in the relationship. It's very important. And trust doesn't only mean that I trust that you're not doing things with somebody else instead of me. That's not what I'm talking about. Of course, that's part of it. But even the trusting to say that I trust in you, that I know that you can be there for me. I trust in you that you'll take care of me. I trust in you that you'll be there for me. Right? Everything can come under the level of trust. And it's important for the couples to understand it, that you need to have that trust there. It's a backbone in the married life. And it's important that we make sure that the trust is there and built. And that falls under the category of being honest. Are you caring for the other person? Are you empathetic as well? Next one is calm and rational. Are you a patient person? Are you calm, cool, and collected? Do you try to control your anger? How much are we in control of it? Some guys have a problem, some women too. We have short fuses, but it's important that at least we're trying to work on it. I mean, anger, kas is an emotion that we have. You can't get rid of it. The question is how you deal with it. And the last one is open to sharing thoughts and feelings. As we mentioned before, it's important to be able to be open to the other person, to be able to share what's on your mind, what are you thinking about, and not to be afraid to say what you have to say to the other person. It's being able to have the communication and to know that I can talk to this other person. And they're not going to make fun of me. We're going to see soon. They're not going to embarrass me. They're not, feel that I'm sharing with them something private, something deep within myself, and that they're going to laugh at me or make fun of me at the same time. And therefore, when the next time is going to come, I want to say something to you, I'm going to think twice because I don't want to have the same reaction from you as well. When it comes to the abusive talk, it's important in a relationship to have what's called emotional and physical safety. It's not about power and control. Okay, you're married. So under abusive talk we have what's called negative talk. Okay, it's called a dis-ease. Is the cup full or half empty? Okay, it depends on how you look at it. We have to be optimistic people. The cup, Baruch Hashem, is half full. Don't look at the world as being all negative. It is negative to a certain extent. It's dark out there. There's a lot of problems, a lot of issues. Okay, it depends how you look at it. Even the rabbis say, when you look at something, don't look to the black of the eye, look through the white of the eye. Well, what's the problem with that? We look through the black of the eye. That's the people. That's what we see. We don't look through the white of the eye. But they're talking figuratively. When they're talking about don't look at the world as everything being dark and gloomy and terrible. Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of good that's out there today. And if anything, if you become a positive person, you will affect other people around you as well. So people that, if you happen to come to a family where they sit down by the table and all they discuss is everybody else's problems, who's dying, who's sick, who's getting a divorce, right? People like to do that, and they're sitting down here with their teas and having a good time. But again, this is a problem. This is negativity, bad vibes. This is a plague. You got to run away. Next level is called disrespectful. Disrespectful to you, disrespectful to your family, disrespectful to your friends. He makes fun of you. He makes fun of what you like. He makes fun of what you do. And he can sometimes also betray your confidence. If you share something private, you don't go and blab to the whole world in terms of what's going on. If it's kept in secret, it has to be kept a secret. Inappropriate language, which means cursing, put downs, and I deal with couples a lot, and it never ceases to surprise me sometimes. I mean, I hate to say this for the women, there are times when, the guy tells me, she's cursing away like I don't know what. And number one, just even to say that is not proper. But for a man, you should know that it's a total turnoff. It feels like it's disgusting that she can talk this way in terms of even saying those type of words that come out of her mouth. So I can understand there's a lot of frustration and problems and issues, but dealing with language or bad language is not the answer to the issue and to the problem. Next category, lies all the time. Right? You were caught lying, you were caught cheating, you're doing things that are inappropriate. Okay? There's a reputation of being a liar. Threatening or scary talk. Again, as we mentioned before about getting angry, anger management is very important. Gets angry at anything that you do. If you spend time with the family, if you spend time with your friends, just angry and upset. If it pressures you to do something that you don't want to do, if he accuses you of being also unfaithful or cheating, or if God forbid, he resorts to physical violence or physical abuse, and it goes both ways, either to the man or to the woman. And the last one on the list is called very quiet and secretive. You don't know what he does. He's a very quiet guy, a very quiet lady, and they're doing things that I have no idea what they're doing. I have women that have no idea what the husband does for a living. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it's all a secret, all a secret. He disappears sometimes. Rabbi, he's out all night. I don't know what he's doing. Comes up in the morning and I don't know where he's been. It's a problem. That's a problem. That's abusive talk because you're giving off information that you're not really talking. I don't know what's going on. There's no reason that you can talk to the person. And if people have a problem talking, then you need to learn to use other ways. And Baruch Hashem, today we have a lot of methods to talk to another person. You can write little love letters if you want, little sticky notes on the bathroom window, the mirror. You can text message to somebody. You can email to somebody. Right? You want to try it out. You want to discuss with your friend. Maybe make it right. Whatever it is, but there's ways to communicate. It's not just talking. And we need to know to use them properly if you have a problem when it comes to talking. Okay, so rehearse it beforehand, write it down, and make sure you discuss with the other person that they know what's on your mind. When it comes to your mouth, the Gemara tells us something very interesting. The Gemara tells us if you look at your body, there's two of everything, pretty much, right? Even in your brain, you have two parts of the brain. You have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears. You have 2 arms, 2 legs. You have 2 kidneys. You have 2 lungs, and so on and so forth. Why is it that a Kadosh Baruch Hu, God, created us with only 1 mouth? Why? So Gemara says, you know why? Because really God wanted to create you with 2 mouths. And we know the body is divided up into 2 parts. You have the right side, the left side, you have the good and the evil. You would have 2 mouths, one to do good and one to say bad. But Hashem says, I see that even the good mouth is going to end up talking bad as well. So you know what? I make for you 1 mouth. And try to use this mouth to only talk good things. We use this mouth to say brachot. We use this mouth to learn Torah. We learn this mouth to say good things to another person. Don't get it dirty with inappropriate foul language and cursing, God forbid. It's not appropriate. It's not right. I tell the kids something in the yeshiva, I tell them to get into a fight with somebody, the same thing is inappropriate. I say, listen, would you go to the bathroom and take a cup and drink the water from the toilet? I'm sorry to use this language. They say, no, disgusting, I wouldn't use that. I say, but that's the same water that comes into your house, into the kitchen sink. That's the same water. But what's the problem? It's in a bowl that's dirty. The mouth that's clean, the mouth that's tahor, The mouth that's pure should not be the mouth that says things that's from the sewer, God forbid. You got to keep it clean. And it's important that we remember that. And for those that are married, when it comes to the kids, where do they learn all the language? Okay, you might say from the TV, from the movies, from the friends, whatever it is, but a lot of times you hear it, the kids learn it from the house. They heard the father getting upset, or the mother getting upset, and they heard some language, and once they hear it, that's it. It's stuck in their head, and they're going to say it again. They don't know what you're talking about. But because they heard it once from your mouth, that's it. It's ingrained in their soul. So be careful. When it comes to respect, there has to be boundaries in your life, whether it's dating or whether it's married. There's what's called the physical time you can be together when you're married, and the non-physical time. There's the emotional connections that a couple is to have. But let me ask a different question. It comes to boundaries. How far does it go? In terms of the use of the internet, for example. Checking the person's phones, checking the computers, checking the emails, what's the history that's there, who you've been talking to, who you're texting to. And I'm not the maven in what's out there today, but again, dealing with the couples, you hear a lot of problems. So let me ask you the question. Do you think it's right to know another person's password? To know your husband's password? Right? Or you're dating somebody. You want to check out their phone. You want to see who they're talking to, who they're texting to. Is that okay? What do you say? Depends what kind of password.
He's not talking about bank.
I'm talking about getting into your email, right? You need to sign on, you need to log on, right? You need to have your user ID, you need to have a password, right? Do you think that the wife or the husband should have access to the internet, to the computer, to your phone?
Yes, why not? There's nothing to hide.
Why not?
There's nothing to hide. Okay.
You shouldn't give it out.
That's a trust.
Unless you're hiding something.
Okay. Okay, this falls in the category of boundaries. So how much is appropriate, how much is not? Okay, this is something that, unfortunately today, that people are doing things that are really inappropriate. And unless you have either a filter or somebody that has access to what you're getting into, no holds barred. I mean, you can do and get anywhere, and who's going to know? So again, it's a very touchy subject. I'm not talking about controlling, I'm talking about abuse. Somebody who's dating somebody and wants to constantly see your phone, who you're talking to, wants to know all the time who you're in touch with, whatever, that's a problem. That's a red flag. That's an issue. I'm not talking about somebody who's obsessive about the whole thing. I'm not talking about somebody who's overly jealous in terms of who you're talking about, what look at the man, I mean, I get it all the time. And it's a problem because we're in the workforce and we deal with the men, we still deal with the women, and when is it a business relationship and when does it come to something becoming a little bit more personal and getting out of hand? And because that's the way it starts, and that's a problem. And unless you know you have somebody on top of your head, somebody's watching what you're doing, and you never know if you're going to get caught, you're going to be in big trouble. Not just Hashem is watching all the time. That's not enough sometimes. But there's a person that's watching. Your significant other. Right, what do we start by saying? Right, if the right one catches you with the wrong one, you're completely finished. Right? You got to be careful about that. You don't want to be kaput altogether. When it comes to family and friends, when it comes to control, are you able to deal and go to the family? Do you get an issue from the husband or the wife? Is it a problem visiting your friends, hanging out with the friends? Or is it only his family, or only her family? Right? Again, the boundaries, where does it go? And not only that, but we need sometimes that time apart. I'm not talking about just nida, but it's important that we have that quality time with each other. And there are times when we need to relax a little bit. The guy needs the guy's night out, the girls need their little night out. But again, it has to be appropriate. I don't want guys telling me, the wife tells me he's off in Atlantic City with the guys. What is he doing there? I don't know. For me, that's not appropriate. You want to relax, you want to take it easy? Okay, fine. There's other ways to do it. You don't need to go to Atlantic City to do that. Or the woman's hanging out by these clubs, going places that the girls are going there. What's the problem? What's the big deal? I think it's a big deal. I think it's a problem. And if you don't look at it as being a problem, then that's a problem. I mean, again, I'll be the last one to tell you not to have some relax. I mean, if you can be with each other 24/7, it's going to cause problems. I mean, you need to have a little bit of break. That's why Hashem set up in the system that there is a little break time. It's healthy. I mean, even in the secular world, when couples have issues and problems, one of the first things they tell them, did you guys ever think about separating from each other? Why? Because when you don't have something, the heart grows fonder. Okay, so it's important that we have a little time out, but even that has to be with certain boundaries, certain limits, in terms of what you're doing, what you're not doing. Number 2, for the communication, we said, is it important to call your husband and wife every day? What do you say? Yes. Women say yes. Men? Thinking, I don't know, maybe, should, could. You can call her now. Don't worry, it's not too late. Not too late. It's important to call every day. So there's a story. A young man once came to Moshe Feinstein, and he told him that his wife was upset at him because he didn't call her that day. Okay, so he came to the Rav to say, what's she getting all upset about? What's the big deal? I'm going to see her later on today. I said hello to her in the morning. I said good morning, goodbye, whatever it is. What's the big deal if I didn't call her during the day? So the Rav was surprised, it says. He says, I don't understand why you didn't call her. I call my wife every day, Rav Moshe Feinstein said. And this is a person that sat and learned 24/7. Busy with the world, with all the jewelry in terms of all questions all over the place. And if he spends the time to call his wife every day, who are we? 10 times a day you got to call your wife. Okay, no, 10 times. Okay, at least once a day. At least once a day. At least once a day. Now, in general, what happens is that when the women call up the men, to bother me, I'm busy, I can't talk, get away. Okay, sometimes that can happen, you're busy, but if she was a client, an important client, you would give her the time of day, you spend some time, I'm really sorry, I'm in a meeting right now, I can't really talk, let me call you back soon, right? That's the decency to do, and of course, don't forget to call her back later on in the day. Okay, that shows that you care. And when the guy calls up the wife, what happens? Wow, he's so busy. He called me. He took time out of his busy schedule to call me. He's thinking about me. I'm on his mind. I'm important to him. For her, you make her a whole day. Now, today, most of us, we have unlimited phone plans, and it doesn't cost anything to call. Call. It's a 2-second phone. It has to be, he's on a date, talking hours at a time. Hi, how are you? How's it going? I'm alive, I'm breathing, Baruch Hashem, it's fine. I'll see you later. Don't worry about it. What's for dinner? Okay, that's it. Just, I'm here. It's important to talk. Now, when it comes to healthy communication, so we'll say a few rules that we need to understand. Number 1 is finding the right time to talk with each other. Okay, and that means if you're going to sit down and talk, no interruptions. Turn off the phones. Get rid of the computers, the TV, everything is off, everything's shut down, right? Spend time concentrating on each other. Okay, it has to be private, not outside in the streets or in the park, whatever it is. Again, unless you have that time alone. But again, spend the time to talk with each other alone. Okay, and also at a time when you're not tired, and not when you're stressed out, right? Because you probably can't talk, you're dozing off, you're falling asleep already. Okay, find the right time that's good for the two of you and sit down and talk. Again, it doesn't have to be a 3-hour conversation about life and the world, whatever it is. Just to catch up on each other's, what's going on, the day, the house, the kids, and so on and so forth. Just talk with each other. Again, when you were dating, you did a lot of talking, I hope. Okay, so it's important to rejuvenate again, to go back to those days and to talk as well. Number 2, it should be done face to face. Okay? Communication was mentioned before, there's a lot of different ways, but when it comes to some serious communication, healthy communication, it's not done through texting, it's not done through emails, okay? It has to be face to face, okay? Because a lot of times when you do text to somebody, even though you put those funny faces, whatever it is, it doesn't get the message across. There's a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding, that's not what I meant, that's not what I said. Again, there's things that you miss out when it's just put down on paper. When you talk face to face, it gives it a different dimension. Also, when you're talking, no attacking allowed. Okay, we're not at war, we're not at battle. Okay, don't use the you word. Okay, use the I word. Okay, for example, I feel like we haven't been as close lately. I feel, right? I, with emotion, and what's going on, what do you feel? Instead of, you have been very distant lately. Okay? You're turning, when you point the finger at another person, you start attacking them, what happens? They go into the defensive, and all it does is that it's not going to become communication, it's going to become, now I'm defending myself, and it's attack, and it's answer back, it doesn't really accomplish anything. If you use the I word, so instead of pointing the finger, you're addressing it to yourself, and hopefully they'll understand where you're coming from, and then take into consideration in terms of how to further communicate with you. Number 4, it means being honest. The truth hurts sometimes, but you have to be honest with your spouse sometimes. Okay? Again, constructive criticism sometimes is very hard to swallow, but if it needs to be said, if you say it in a nice way, if you come across being caring, I'm telling you this because I really want you to know and to understand it. If you do it from the bottom of your heart, words from the heart will penetrate the heart, and then she'll or he will understand it better. Okay? We're not perfect. Only Akadosh Baruch Hu, only God is perfect. We come to this world to try to perfect ourselves, so it's important that we understand that about the other person. Okay? And sometimes when we do make mistakes, we have to learn to apologize. To say, I'm sorry. I know guys have a very hard saying that, but even sometimes the women, but it's important, say it. Okay? You're not less of a man. I think when the women hear that, they'll appreciate it more, and they see that you are a man, you do have a heart, you do have emotions, you are sensitive. It's also very nice. And the women too should apologize if they do make a mistake, instead of trying to make excuses of why you did that, that's not what I meant. It's better just cut it. Apologize, and that's the end of it. Also, when it comes to communication, what's known as body language. It's important, as we mentioned before, in terms of being face-to-face, but even the way you're talking about. You're facing the person, but you're slouching, and you're dozing off, and your eyes are rolling, whatever it is. That's not communication. Again, you're giving the message that you don't care. I'm here, but I don't care whatever you say. It's going nowhere. Okay? So, you sit up, you have some eye contact, you make sure your face is there, you listen, you're caring. Again, as mentioned before, no phone calls, shut everything down. And also what's called the 48-hour rule. Okay? In other words, if you get into a little disagreement, okay? So the question is, in 48 hours from now, okay, are you still upset about what happened? Okay? If you are, then definitely needs to be discussed. But most of the times, you ask the couples, they were fighting, they come, so what were we fighting about last week? I really don't remember, but it was something serious. It was at each other, but what was it? What was the problem? I don't know, but she said, he said, and then, okay. But most of the time, it's shtuyot, as they say. It's nothing. Okay? So really be serious in terms about getting into a fight, getting upset, and if it's something that really after 48 hours, you really remember what it was all about, and it still bothers you, definitely needs to be discussed and to be taken care of. Okay. Also, if you mention to your partner that you were hurt, okay, the easiest thing to do is to just apologize. Don't get into a whole discussion about the whole thing. Just apologize and get on. Without apologizing, or this and that. If you're going to apologize, just leave it at that, end it, and move on in life. There's no reason to bring up the past. Don't be a cow and regurgitate all your food all the time, okay? Just let go. Move on in the married life. Okay, let's get to number 3. Religion. Religion. Now the question would be, is it important that the couple are on the same religious level? Or is it okay if they are on different levels? Okay, this will apply if you're dating somebody, or it will apply even after somebody decides to become very religious and to take off and to be a little more stricter about tshuva, whatever it is. So the question is that an issue? Is that a godsend? Is that okay? Not okay? Again, open up to the audience. What do you say? Is religion important in that?
It needs to be discussed.
Needs to be discussed. Okay, the
couple that one keeps kosher, one doesn't. Is that possible?
Because I know a lot of stories that, one person was, the other person wasn't, they became, and then they got divorced in the end anyway. It didn't work out.
So are you saying that religion is important?
It's one of the most important.
It's important, okay? So if you're dating somebody who's not on your level, that means you should break it off?
No, you can try to work on it.
Try to work on it. Okay? Ladies, what do you say? Same level. As long as, what are the basics? I had a phone call today, a lady, she wears a long wig, and you don't want her to wear a wig at all. Is that a reason to get a divorce, or to break up a date? Is that basics or not? That's new or not? Does that fall into the category too? Thank you. Okay? Now, in the secular world, there's the idea, in the Jewish world, of what's called opposites attracting. Okay? So the question is, when it comes to dating or even marriage, does the idea of opposites attracting, does that work? Okay? So in religion, if you have one who's religious and one who's not religious, the opposites, should that work out or not? I mean, that's a possible question. I guess when it comes to opposites, I guess if you're a magnet, it works very well. But if not, not all relationships work on opposites attracting. Okay?
Opposites attract, I find it's like personality and character.
Okay.
I feel like, yeah.
Okay, so if you're outgoing and
That's fine.
she doesn't like to step outside of the house,
That's fine.
that's fine.
You know, the opposite of religion, you should try to be somewhere in the same.
Somewhere in the middle. Okay, Rambam.
I don't know,
Me.
I disagree with that.
What do you say?
I say if she doesn't like to go out of the house and you do, that's cause a lot of problems.
Okay.
Or the other way around.
So in the beginning, a lot of times what couples feel is that if, let's say, he likes to go out and she likes to stay in, or vice versa. So in the beginning, you might say, oh, this is great because I maybe want to get over this problem of, not being able to go out, and if my spouse is outgoing, so therefore it's going to make me to become a little bit more outgoing, and that's maybe going to help me and to get me to go out. But a lot of times what happens is that it might be great in the beginning, but after a while, you just revert back to who you are, and that you just like to stay home, and that you get upset at why he wants to go out all the time. I just leave me alone, and that causes a problem sometimes. And a lot of relationship gurus would say that sometimes it's better that in that situation that opposite attract is not the answer. It's when you do have similarities between the couple that makes it much more easy and compatible for them to get along with each other and to deal with their little, mishigasim that they have in terms of wanting to go out, not going, wanting to go out, in terms of working it out better with the couple themselves down the road when they do get married. So it's important that you have at least similar values when it comes to certain things. You're both on the same page when it comes to married life. You're both on the same team to understand that you're here to work together with each other. Okay? If you have common interests, if you want to grow together, that's important. In religion, it's always better when you're both climbing the ladder together. Okay? Because you're here to encourage each other, to help each other. Sometimes you be the crutch, sometimes you help the other person, right? It's always best when you're climbing the ladder together in terms of the spiritual growth that you're going to have in your life. And it's important to understand that when it comes to religion, it can be a problem. Okay, because if a person becomes very religious and they want to keep certain standards, again, on the phone call today, unfortunately, she's calling, my husband wants to dance with me when I go out to some of these parties, and she goes, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But he's getting upset because this is what the family wants, this is what they expect, and he wants to make them happy. So what do you do? What do you do? So it definitely could cause problems down the road, and it's important that they understand it, that sometimes having these differences does cause problems. It's hard to pick up on it all the time when you are dating sometimes. Okay, but even once you're married, to understand that you need to work through it in terms of getting beyond that as well. So as we know, when it comes to religion, okay, I'm a rabbi, so I'm definitely going to push for it. I'm not here to brainwash you, whatever it is, but to understand that the Torah is the way to go, and anyone that's married has a ketubah. Okay, and the first letter of the ketubah is the letter bet. Okay, whenever we got married, it has the day, but it always starts off with the letter bet. And the reason why it says that is because the ketubah, the bet in the ketubah, symbolizes the bet in the Torah. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In order to tell you that when the ketubah that joins the couple together, it has to be joined together with the Torah in their lives, because that's what's going to keep the bet, the two people together. When you have the Torah that's combining them together as well. We're also familiar with saying in the Gemara, Ish ve'isha zachu shchina b'neihem. When a man and woman marry, they have the shchina, the presence of God, in between them. So on a simple level, we understand that when husband and wife get along, they have shalom bayit, they're getting along, they have a healthy relationship, what happens? God rests in their house. The shchina b'neihem, the God of the house, is full of God's goodness. And if not, what happens? It says, Esh ochaltan, if they're not getting along with each other, God forbid, the name of God, the Yud from the Ish, the Hey from the Isha, the Yud K, disappears, and you're only left with the Eish, with the two fires that, God forbid, that consumes up the house and the relationship, God forbid. But if you want to take it on a different level, it's sometimes that Eish, the Eish, and the Aleph and the Shin that the man has, and the Aleph and the Shin that the woman has, is what gets them to be together. In what sense? Because in that sense they are similar, in the Eish. But the man has the Yud and the woman has the Hey. And when you have the differences sometimes, it depends on what, when you have those differences in terms of, you see, when you have the Eish, when they're both similar, that's when it can be fire, when it can be good. But when you have the Yud and the K, sometimes when you have the God, the name, the differences between the man and the woman, that's what keeps the God there. That's what keeps Hashem in the picture. Because you're both married to each other for a reason. And you have your pluses, and she has her minuses, or you have your minuses, and she has the pluses, and you're here to work with each other. Because again, you're two halves of one whole neshama. You're here to complete yourselves. That's what it's all about. And sometimes you're lacking, or she's lacking, and you have more, and she has less, and you're here to work with each other to make up, to be the crutch sometimes, and to help, and to encourage, and to push, and to strive, and to motivate, and you know, all these things is to help the relationship to grow. So sometimes those differences are good in terms of working on the relationship. So don't take it the wrong way. And that's what also brings the Shechina and brings the Shalom Bayit into your house. So when it comes to having a healthy relationship, okay, we all need to be doctors, okay? And before you go to the real doctor, whether you know, the rabbi, the rebbitzin, the marriage counselor, the therapist, whatever it is, you know, you got to put your hand on the pulse of your own relationship. You know, put your pulse and try to get an idea of where you are holding in the relationship and where your spouse is holding in the relationship and how the relationship as a whole is going. Where is it headed? So I have a little handout. I guess a little questionnaire if you want. For those that want to have a little test. Again, I don't know if I have enough for everybody. If you really want one, you can call me or text me, whatever it is, and I can get one out to you. But one of them is, am I a good partner and the person that I'm with? So it's one for each of you. I guess one for you and one for the other person. Okay, there's one of each. It discussed a lot of the ideas that we discussed here tonight. Okay, to get an idea. Okay, it's about, one of them has 20 questions, the other one has about 26 questions. It's yes or no questions. Again, discussing a lot of the ideas that we discussed tonight about a healthy relationship. And there's a scoring on the next sheet in terms of trying to figure out, again, putting your hand on the pulse and trying to figure out, do you have a healthy relationship or not? It's not the end of the world if you're not doing that great. Okay, if you are doing great, that's wonderful. Keep it going. Okay, keep on rejuvenating, keep it going. Don't put it on autopilot. You have to keep on working on it. Okay, but if you're having issues, I'm not saying I'm a doctor, but if you do need to contact myself, contact my wife, our names and numbers are on the sheets. You're more than welcome to discuss whatever questions that you might have. Any questions for the audience? Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to double check. What is your feelings about religion, you know, in that aspect? If she's more religious and you're less, or you know, where should you be at that point?
It depends where you're holding. Where are you holding in the relationship? Are you just dating? Or are you not dating? I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times we see couples that they settle for less, in terms of they're on one level and they feel that they can't get anybody else, so they opt for something lower. They don't realize what they're getting themselves into sometimes, because they might think it's not a problem, but down the road it does play a major problem for them, and they can't deal with it. So you really need to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, can I be okay with my husband working on Shabbat? Am I okay with not eating at a kosher restaurant? Am I okay with doing things that, you know, again, I'm going to extremes, but to understand, ask yourself, and be honest, you know, are you ready to give up? If you're on a level where, you know, I eat kemach yasher and pas Yisrael, and I mean, I'm at a level, and then I have a guy who's eating McDonald's. I mean, that's a problem. That's a problem. Okay? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
In terms of expectations before marriage, how much can you know or decipher at the beginning in terms of, you know, there's all kinds of things which come up later on in marriage. People have arguments over economics, over family issues, his family and her family, over religious issues. So is it something that all these things have to be discussed in detail before
Optimally, yes. Okay, because you want to know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, it's not just, again, she's a nice girl, a nice guy, and that's the end of it. Okay, there's more to it than that. Okay? You're living with somebody, sharing the same apartment, and dealing with the same issues. When I do teach the Chattan classes, one of the topics that we discuss is what's called unrealistic expectations. People come into marriage with many expectations which are not consciously expressed, and it's a problem because everyone has their fantasies and their dreams of what married life is supposed to look like, and they get frustrated and upset when things just don't go the way they hoped and wished that it should go. And it's a problem because, it just brings up a lot of frustration, a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and a lot of times if it would have been discussed beforehand, you could avoid a lot of the issues that you're dealing with now. But once you're married, I'm not saying it's too late, but it definitely needs to be worked on.
Got married then.
If you're dating somebody, okay, I highly recommend you have a neutral third party that you can ask the questions. Again, preferably a rabbi or a marriage therapist, a counselor who's experienced in terms of dating issues, and to guide you accordingly in terms of not to get obviously messed up, but in a situation where it's harder once you're married to just get a divorce and end it that way. So it definitely needs to be discussed, and if you can, the more the better. I mean, you can't discuss everything, but at least again you get a very general idea what you're dealing with, especially the major issues that are there. Okay. Any other questions? Once, twice, three times? Okay. Thank you very much. Yes?
Going back to the attraction part of the
Yeah.
right? If someone is going out with someone and they feel they have Ribicoff and good character and they treat them well, but the girl is not so attractive to what would you tell her?
After how many times? Okay, so the question is, I don't like to use this rule, but are you disgusted by the person, by their looks? Or is it something you just feel okay with? Is it something that you can... No, I'm saying in terms of the questions you need to ask yourself. The attraction that's there. The way the rabbis explain it is that love can grow over time. That you can get to look beyond just the physical looks. There definitely needs to be something there. I mean, you need to have something that you feel good about being with this person. And again, you have to be honest with yourself. If you really feel that I can't, again, it might be great, but I just can't. I can't. Don't force yourself. But definitely speak to somebody who can guide you to make sure that attraction that you might feel in terms of that click that people want to have, is not what you're really looking for, and the attraction that you're looking out, it was mentioned before in terms of that physical beauty, because over time it will fade. So is that what you're looking for, or is it really something else? Okay. Yes.
Is it okay to set up two people who are secular, completely not related?
What's the worry?
What's the word?
What are you worried about? What's the?
You said,
What they do with their lives is not. Again, what you do with their lives is not really your concern. If they decide to keep the laws or not, you want to get them. Maybe, and you hope and pray that they, try to guide them the right way. That they should definitely be, like I said, speak to a rabbi, get the Chattan and Kallah classes, learn, try to be inspired, try to guide them the right way. They should, if you know them, try to invite them for Shabbat. They should see what religion, Shabbat, and kosher, and all those kind of things. And you never know, might click something. Anything else? Once, twice, three times? Yes? No? Okay. Tata. Thank you much. Have a good night.